So operations, pretty important management subject and really about getting a framework. So Nick, what's really the things that they're going to be covering in this subject?
Now, normally when we start talking about operational planning, what a lot of people start to look at is they start to immediately think about the annual budget or the annual plan. And yep, that's certainly a part of it. But what we're looking at now is the whole picture. So where we're really starting there is to understand, well, what is the company vision? Okay, what's your mission? What's that big 3 to 5 year goal that you have for the organization? And once we understand that and what we want to achieve, we then start to get down to, well, okay, well, what are the sort of resources or activities we're going to need to undertake to make that happen? Once we understand what those activities are that we need to make happen, we can start to think, well, how much do they cost and what's the running cost of that operation, quite literally. Putting those budgets in place, taking the 3 to 5 year plan, turning it into an annual plan and running the budgets from there.
Thinking about people and processes and all the things necessary to make sure the machine and the cogs within the machine are running.
Well, that's just it. Those numbers aren't going to hit themselves. Okay, there's going to be things that we need to put in place. There needs to be those management decisions about, well, how are we going to communicate this to our people? We need to think about where are those resources coming from? Who's going to monitor them? What key indicators of success we're going to have? And make sure that we've got some way of measuring that and making sure it's happening month in, month out. If we hit those annual plans, over a period of time, we're going to start to achieve the goal and the vision and mission of our company.
Yeah, so defining, well, what is success and what is the blueprint for that success?
And how do I measure it? And who's accountable for that? Yep, okay.
Always very important.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, so what are the types of things they're going to be focusing on in the context part, in that part one? What skills, tools, things they're going to be looking at?
Absolutely. Well, the first thing they need to do in the first part is really come up with what is that big picture vision. Okay, so where are you going over the next 3 to 5 years? What is it that you're trying to achieve? And setting that out into some sort of mission statement or vision about this is what we want, and that will give us a bit of an overview of the sort of resources that we're going to need to start to make that happen.
So what do they do in terms of the assessment there? What's the key evidence that they're really delivering?
Okay, so what they're going to do is once they've done that initial analysis of coming up with a very clearly defined vision and mission statement, and they've thought about that resources, they're going to distill that down into a bit of a short, sharp, to the point blog statement that really tells us what are they going to do. 150 words to maybe 200 words of, this is what I aim to achieve. Okay?
Who are they talking to?
Well, they've got a range of different people they might be talking to. They could be talking to investors, because investors want to know, well, if I give you my money, what are you going to be doing with it? The same, I might also be looking at talking to potential future staff members so that they can get a bit of an idea about, well, what will they be working with? What will they be doing? What are the sort of resources they're going to have available in order to achieve your vision and mission? It might be customers that start to get even on a customer level, what is it I'm going to be expecting from your company over the next little while? What steps or things are you going to be bringing on board that are going to satisfy my needs? Short, sharp, to the point, let me know what's going on.
Beautiful. Type of things that you have on your website and in your brochures.
Absolutely.
Excellent. All right, so coming from that, moving into the critical part 2, what type of things are they going to be covering there?
So now we stop talking about what's going to happen, and this is where we start to break down to the mathematics, okay? This is where our budgets first start to come into play, and we start to document it. We start to really come up with that clear picture of, well, what are the resources or assets that we need? How are we going to pay for those? What are they going to cost us? Breaking that out over the next 12 months of activity. And it's not some future 12 months, it's the 12 months from tomorrow. Okay, so it's that immediate moving out. What we need to do then is to think about, well, what are the processes? How are we going to measure what we're paying each month? How are we going to make sure that we're tracking those costs? Whose job is that? What are the responsibilities or key performance indicators we want? And starting to think about how we're going to communicate that to our critical staff on board the team. Whoever they might be. It might be the employees, it could be the managers, but everyone needs to know what's going on and what's expected of them. Expectations are a big one.
Right, yeah. Okay, so really the details and resources of what you need. The KPIs, really important. And how are they putting this all together? What's the type of evidence that they're delivering in the critical component?
Okay, so what we're starting to do there is we're really getting into the measurement. Okay, so we're really making sure that we understand our measurement on an ongoing basis to make sure that we have those very clear systems in place. How are we going to check it? Who's checking it? When are they checking it? What's going to happen with that information? And what to do if we find deviations and, you know, coming up with those plans. Really starting to talk about contingency planning. Okay, if something goes wrong or if things aren't what I expect, what am I going to have in place beforehand? Don't manage the emergency when it happens. We're coming up with that real understanding of, you know, what's going to happen. If it happens, what are we going to do about it? Okay, and once again, starting to talk about the responsibilities for who's got that. So that starts to cover our part 3.
So in the critical component, so they're producing some type of vlog, again, video blog, looking for something 90 seconds, short, sharp, sweet, straight to the point, embedded in your Fedina blog.
Yep.
It's where you get to talk about your ideas, express them to that audience. And when you really got all that planning in place through the control component.
Yep, we've got our planning.
And all the key processes.
Yep. And we think about what could go wrong and starting to, I guess to some degree, are starting to think about our risk management, or more to the point, our contingency planning.
Yeah, that contingency planning, the plan Bs. If you don't have a plan B, something goes wrong, you could be in trouble.
Plan C, plan D.
Yeah, so you can take it pretty far. Important to have some plans.
Yep.
Don't want to plan to fail. And what's the type of evidence that they're really delivering here? What's the blogging component?
Yep. So from an evidentiary component, once again, we're not really looking for this massive detailed part at this stage. What we want to know is, what are the key messages out of this? Okay, so just a very brief, once again, short, sharp, snappy. What are the things you're going to be looking at? How's that going to occur? You know, really when or which. So once again, we've taken the person from the first part. We're now informing them of, you know, how this thing's going to work or what we're going to be looking at. And once again, conveyed in a short to the point thing. We don't want to know about all your individual planning and processes. We just need an overview of, you know, how's that going to work? Maybe a short who, what, where, when, why, and how, once again, that just tells us what's going to happen here.
All right, so after they move from that control component, what are they doing in C4?
Okay, so now is when I need to really communicate to people what's going to happen. Okay, so this is now starting to look at taking the whole message and now putting it out into one encapsulated communication. So we're going to start talking about the vision and mission. You might start talking about what sort of resources you're going to employ out there. This is when we might start communicating a little bit more the KPIs and wrapping it all up into a presentation or some sort of video, and, you know, a lot of freedom in how they do that. We're not asking them to, it must be a talking head type deal. We don't really want a boring slideshow, because that, you know, that can lose a little bit of impact. We need to think about who we're aiming it at once again and telling them what's going to happen. 3 to 5 minutes tops, really making a point about understanding the business and what they can expect over the next 12 months, where it's going over the next 3 to 5 years, and why.
Yeah, and they've essentially got almost a week to put together this presentation, and multimedia, got a lot of creative freedom. You can use images and moving images and video and sound and concepts and diagrams. So lots of creative freedom. Has to be on a media platform that allows you to embed it in your Fedina blog, but always really exciting. Audience carried all the way through, something they could actually present to investors.
Yep, that's right. And remember, it doesn't have to have heaps and heaps of numbers in it. Okay, we can always include the numbers in a PDF at the end. The key part here is to tell me what the important message is, get me on board, get me excited, tell me a little bit about the future, and make me want to go out there and spend the next 12 months helping you deliver that plan. If you can do that, I reckon that's about spot on.
Excellent. So operational planning, really important subject.
Yep. Good luck. Have fun.